Good evening and welcome to the September 24th, 2018 meeting of the Shawnee City Council. I'd ask that you please silence your electronic devices at this time. I am Mayor Michelle Dissler. I will be chairing this meeting. I'll do a roll call at this time. Councilmember Zimmerman?
Present.
Councilmember Neighbor?
Present.
Councilmember Jenkins?
Present.
Councilmember Kimling?
Present.
Councilmember Meyer?
Present.
Councilmember Sandifer?
Present.
Councilmember Constance?
Present.
Thank you. We have some Boy Scouts in the audience today, so if you'd like to come up and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. Whenever you're ready. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Would you like to tell us your names and what troop you're with? Thank you. Next, I'll explain our procedures for public input. During the meeting, I'll offer the opportunity for public input. If you'd like to speak to the council at any of those times, please come forward to the microphone. I'll ask you to state your name and address for the record, and then you may offer your comments. So that members of the audience can hear your comments, I would ask that you speak directly into the microphone. By policy, comments are limited to 5 minutes. No person may speak more than twice to any one agenda item. After you are finished, please sign the form on the podium to ensure we have an accurate record of your name and address. In addition, while we won't do a roll call vote on every vote, I will state council members' names who vote in minority so that our listening audience will have a clear and accurate record of the vote. The next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Does anyone have an item they would like to remove from the consent agenda? Seeing none, I'll accept a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Move to approve. Second.
Motion has been made, seconded on this item. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes. The next item on the agenda is mayor's items. I have 2 items tonight. The first item is the National 4-H Week proclamation. I will ask members of the Oxford Hustler 4-H Club to join me in front of the dais. From the Office of the Mayor, a proclamation in recognition of National 4-H Week. Whereas the Oxford Hustlers 4-H Club of Shawnee is part of the National Youth Organization and an active and growing local club, and whereas 4-H is a commitment by parents to become involved in their children's lives during a critical time of growth and understanding themselves and the world they live in, and whereas 4-H is a commitment by youth to become involved in assisting their own growth and understanding of themselves, their families, their work. And whereas 4-H is a commitment by the community through the extension system to assist parents and youth while they grow individually and together in understanding themselves and their world. Now, therefore, I, Michelle Dissler, Mayor of the City of Shawnee, Kansas, do hereby proclaim October 7th, 2018 as National 4-H Week, and commend these young people of the Oxford Hustlers 4-H Club of Shawnee for setting such a good example in the community. Let's give them a hand. Okay. That's fine. Can we see all of you? Make sure you're And next, Fire Prevention Week. So if the Shawnee Fire Department members that are here tonight would like to join me.
Two trucks.
Okay, Office of the Mayor, proclamation in recognition of Fire Prevention Week. Whereas the City of Shawnee is committed to ensuring the safety and security of all those living in and visiting the city, and whereas the majority of U.S. fire deaths occur at home each year, and home fires killed 2,735 people in the United States in 2016, according to the National Fire Protection Association, and whereas various conditions contribute to a smaller window of time for people to escape a fire safely, with people having little as 1 to 2 minutes to escape from the time a smoke alarm sounds. And whereas residents who have planned and practiced a home fire escape plan are more prepared and will therefore be more likely to survive a fire, which is why it's so important to install smoke alarms in every sleeping room, outside each separate sleeping area, and on every level of the home, and to listen for the sound of the smoke alarm and respond by going outside immediately to the designated meeting place. And whereas Shawnee is responsive to public education measures and are able to take action to increase their safety from fire, especially in their homes. And whereas 2018 Fire Prevention Week theme, Look, Listen, Learn, Be Aware, Fire Can Happen Anywhere, effectively serves to remind us that we need to take personal steps to increase our safety from fire. Now therefore I, Michelle Dissler, Mayor of the City of Shawnee, Kansas, do hereby proclaim October 7th through the 13th, 2018, as Fire Prevention Week, and urge all citizens to be aware of their surroundings, look for available ways out in the event of a fire or other emergency, respond when the smoke alarm sounds by exiting the building immediately, and to participate in the many public safety activities and efforts of Shawnee's fire and emergency services during Fire Prevention Week 2018.
Corey gave a really good talk. Third Thursday last week. Corey did.
Okay, the next item is appointments. Item number 1 is to consider a reappointment to the Shawnee Downtown Partnership. Policy Statement PS 72, Boards and Commissions Recruitment and Appointment Process, updated the methods used to recruit volunteers to serve on boards and commissions and streamlined the process of approving the appointments. I'm recommending the reappointment of Elaine Kopp to the Shawnee Downtown Partnership with a term expiring September 10th, 2021. Does anyone on the council have any questions? Anyone from the audience like to speak to this item? Seeing none, I'll accept a motion.
So moved. Second.
Motion has been made and seconded on this item. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Next item is business from the floor. Is there anyone that has comments on an issue that is not on tonight's agenda? Seeing none, next item on the agenda is public items. Item number 1 is to consider resolution number 1843, approving the First Amendment to the Westbrook Village Redevelopment Agreement. In 2017, the Westbrook Village TIF and CID districts were created at the northeast corner of West 75th Street and Quivira Road. The redevelopment agreement required the demolition of certain existing buildings by October 1st, 2018. The developer has requested an extension to August 1st, 2019. A resolution is required. The recommended action is to consider adopting resolution number 1843. Is there any discussion from the council? Anyone from the audience like to speak to this item? Please come forward and state your name and address for the record.
Ray Ehrlichman, 7510 Garnett Street. Back when this development was approved, I came up before the council, some of you may remember, and I asked that the item be tabled until after the new council members were sworn in January, so that whatever happened, whatever vote was taken or whatever, that we had a full council that could be held accountable, rather than 3 lame duck members of the council. And that didn't work. The vote was taken, it went forward. Some of the reasons given for moving it forward were, well, we got to do it now because the developer's got to get going. He's got to move along with this thing. Well, that didn't come true, did it? Now we're postponing it. And this seems to be a trend in Shawnee. We're running into the same thing over there on Mauer Road with Belmont Promenade. One delay, one change over a period of time. And I wonder why? Why can't we hold these developers to their original agreements with us? Now, I remember when this item was being debated, there was a young lady who mentioned that she thought the development was going to be really good because we bring in some upscale, fancy restaurants, so she wouldn't have to keep going down Overland Park, I think was her term. And my question is, every time we have a development like this, including this one, we don't know who's coming in yet. We never get a list of names so that we know what we're looking at. Do we want to postpone this? What kind of businesses are coming in? What kind of retail? What kind of restaurants? And you know, there are other developments in the metro area that the developers say, we've got a letter of intent from XYZ company or ABC restaurant. If we can guarantee them so many square footage or whatever that, you know, they're seriously interested and they show the letters of intent and commitment. We never get that. We never see it. I like to know what the real plans are for this development before any extensions, or I'd like to see these people held to their contract. All over the United States, people get held to their contracts. We don't hold these developers to their contracts. I remember a former council member, Mr. Vaught, basically saying we almost had to give in to anything a developer wanted, otherwise we'd get a reputation as being anti-business. No, it's looking out for the people to make sure that these developers comply with their contractual agreements is also a responsibility of the council. And I think that they should be held, and if they can't be held to it, hey, then get out of it. Get somebody else. Or are we going to be facing in August another postponement for another reason? I'd almost be willing to make a bet that if this delay is granted, that come July or August next year, we're going to be doing the same thing that you're doing tonight. I'd even bet a dinner. 7 Hereford House dinners against 1. And I'm serious about it. I would do it. Hold them to their contract. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the audience that would like to speak to this item? State your name and address for the record, please.
I'll get out of your way in a second.
Oh, you're doing good. Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. John Peterson appearing on behalf of the developer. And I understand the comments, actually. I would indicate that this is a request till August of next year to start demolition. The project is actively moving along. If I was here asking for a delay in commencement of construction, that might be a different thing. When you start tearing buildings down, there's a number of things you have to be mindful of. Make sure you've got all your pieces, and we've got a lot of activity about the partners. You probably saw it referenced in the staff about the capital stack, both equity and debt coming along very, very nicely. One thing you also have to be mindful of is current tenants in the project. Make sure you're coordinating with them appropriately. And all of it is moving. We're being respectful to those that are doing business there now, putting our capital stack together, and we'll be demolishing this project, we hope, well before August. And I don't know if I can get in on the bet or not, but I'm gonna ask to be in on that. It'd be 8 dinners. We'll be starting construction right along with the original timeline. So it's a big project. We don't anticipate being at this podium asking for an extension on every milestone, but this one, to do it right, again, to be respectful for everybody involved, we'd ask that we be granted this privilege of an extension until August of next year. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the audience like to speak to this item? Seeing none, I'll accept a motion.
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion has been made and seconded on this item. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Item number 2 is to conduct a public hearing to consider projects for the 2019 Community Development Block Grant CDBG Annual Plan. This is the second of 2 required public hearings. The first hearing was held on August 27th, 2018, and no action was taken to allow for acceptance of an additional public service provider application. An amendment to the 2015-2019 Consolidated Plan must be completed prior to approval of the 2019 Annual Plan. So the second public hearing needs to open and then continue to the November 26, 2018 City Council meeting. There are 2 recommended actions. The first is to conduct a public hearing. I will accept a motion. Motion has been made and seconded on this item. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes. We are now in a public hearing. This is a formal public hearing required by law. Does anyone on the council have any questions? Anyone from the audience like to speak to this item? Seeing none, the second recommended action is to continue the public hearing to the November 26, 2018 City Council meeting.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded on this item. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Item number 3 is to conduct a public hearing to consider ordinance number 3236 SAV 18001, vacating a public utility easement on Lot 4, Stinson Estates, generally located at 18570 Johnson Drive. RDD Holdings 7 LLC has submitted a petition requesting the vacation of the remaining platted public utility easement on the property. A public hearing and ordinance are required. There are 3 recommended actions. The first is to conduct a public hearing. I'll accept a motion.
Move to conduct a public hearing.
Motion has been made and seconded on this item. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes. We are now in a public hearing. This is a formal public hearing required by law. Does anyone on the council have any questions? Anyone from the audience like to speak to this item? Second recommended action is to conclude the public hearing. I will accept a motion.
Move to conclude.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded on this item. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes. The public hearing is closed. Final recommended action is consider passing ordinance number 3236. Does the council have any questions? Anyone from the audience like to speak to this item? I'll accept a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded on this item. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is staff items. Item number 1 is to consider ordinance number 3237, amending section 1004-133 of the Shawnee Municipal Code related to required bicycle safety equipment. KSA 8-1592 regulates the required safety equipment for bicycles. A recent amendment changes the lighting requirements and time of day when lighting equipment is required. An ordinance is required to update the code in order to be consistent with state law. Recommended action is to consider passing ordinance number 3237. Is there any discussion from the council? Councilmember Constance?
I would like to move to remove Part C, the portion that speaks about pedals needing to have reflectors. We spoke with Trek Store, and many of the competitive and triathlon bikes don't have pedals big enough to have a reflector, and so we don't really want to infringe upon their business selling their competitive bikes. So I feel if we can just remove C and keep everything else, that would be adequate.
Any other discussion from the council? Anyone from the audience like to speak to this item? Okay, I'll accept a motion.
I move to remove Part C and keep Parts A and B and pass.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded on this item. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Item number 2 is to consider revisions to policy statement number 27, PS 27, development and service fees, surety requirements, insurance requirements to incorporate light pole attachment fees, and to update various fees for public works, materials, and labor. PS 27 contains fees that are collected for various programs related to development. Staff is recommending incorporating light pole attachment fees and updates to other fees to bring them in line with actual cost. Recommended action is to consider approving revisions to PS 27. Is there any discussion from the council? Anyone from the audience like to speak to this item? I'll accept a motion.
Move to approve. Second.
Motion has been made and seconded on this item. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Item number 3 is to consider contract number 2018-0107, a memorandum of understanding with the Kansas State Fire Marshal for participation in the Kansas Wildland Task Force. The task force was established to create a statewide plan for fulfilling mutual aid requests for wildfire responses. A memorandum of understanding is required for the Shawnee Fire Department to participate. Recommended action is to consider approving and authorizing the mayor to sign the contract. Is there any discussion from the council? Mr. Jenkins.
Yes, in the information, it mentioned it was going to cost the city approximately $12,000 a year to do this. I'm not sure if that was an actual cost or just a possibility that if we have to respond, I assume that's what it is, that if we do get engaged in responding and being a part of a major effort, that we would absorb some cost in that. And I was just wondering if there's any way we can seek out some grants or some financial assistance on that from like the National Fire guys, because that's the kind of thing they would a lot of times support something like that, I would think, so.
Well, the memo, the $12,000 is for gear. That's what it's going to cost for the initial 12 members to be outfitted with gear.
Okay.
As far as the deployment, we don't have any estimations of cost yet.
Because oftentimes we will run into overtime and stuff like that on those kind of deals.
So last year in the last 2 years, we've deployed twice on wildfires in Kansas, in Reno County and in another county. I don't remember where it was. Those actually became declared disasters, so all our costs were recouped. This mutual aid agreement is not necessarily going to be for a declared disaster. Part of the disaster was the organization of the deployment of crews in Kansas the last 2 years, and this is an effort to try and make that more coordinated and organized. And so what they've done is they've regionalized Kansas. Our representative for this area is a ops chief out of Olathe. And so this would be a cooperative response if they requested from this task force area. It would be we would be part of a group from Olathe, District 2, Gardner, KCK, and us. But there's no guarantee, if it's not declared, that those expenses wouldn't be on us to be a part of it. I say we've gone twice in the last 2 years. Previous 10 years, we didn't go, so.
Right, we bought some equipment just for that type of response.
Well, we had those anyway. We had brush trucks. I was surprised to find out that they do qualify as a Type 3 brush truck in the wildland world. That wasn't intentional. It's just what we had outfitted to replace the brush trucks that we had the last couple purchases. So we didn't qualify for a Type 1, but boy, if you want one, I can sure find us one because they're pretty cool. 6 wheels and all. They're pretty special.
Okay, thanks, John.
Is there any other discussion from the council? Anyone from the audience like to speak to this item? I'll accept a motion.
Move for approval.
Motion has been made, seconded on this item. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Item number 4 is to consider bids and award contract number 2018-0108 for the Civic Center retaining wall project. Final plans were approved on August 27, 2018. 4 bids were received. Staff is recommending awarding the bid to Complete Construction Services in the amount of $153,172.50. Recommended action is to consider approving and authorizing the mayor to sign the contract. Is there any discussion from the council? Anyone from the audience like to speak to this item? I'll accept a motion.
Move to approve. Second.
Motion has been made, seconded on this item. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Item number 5 is to consider contract number 2018-0109 for professional engineering services for preliminary engineering study related to the 67th Street and Cottonwood Drive area study for storm drainage improvements, project number 3464. Project was identified as an eligible project for funding through the Johnson County Stormwater Management Advisory Council. A professional engineering study is required, and staff is recommending Renaissance Infrastructure Consulting in the amount of $58,880. Recommended action is consider approving and authorizing the mayor to sign the contract. Is there any discussion from the council? Anyone from the audience like to comment on this item? Seeing none, I'll accept a motion.
Move for approval.
Motion has been made, seconded on this item. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is miscellaneous items. Item number 1 is to ratify the semi-monthly claim for September 24th, 2018 in the amount of $2,913,584.02. Is there any discussion from the council? Anyone from the audience like to speak to this item? Seeing none, I'll accept a motion.
Move to approve?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded on this item. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Item number 2 is miscellaneous council items. Does anyone on the council have any item they would like to discuss? Mr. Neighbor.
Yes, kudos to everyone, particularly staff who participated in the Grillers Weekend last weekend. It seemed to be an overwhelming success. The town really smelled well. And I would also say next Friday night at the Civic Center at 5:30, the Shawnee German American Club will host Oktoberfest, and we'd like to see as many of you come as want to, because we're going to have lots of bratwurst and other good German food.
You cooking? The
Yes.
Jim's gonna be cooking.
Yep, the open house and Great Grillers were both great events again, put on by staff and volunteers, and amazing, just really good. Any other event, any other comments from the council items? You're leaning forward, so I didn't know if you're,
No, I'm ready to adjourn.
Mr. Jenkins?
Just one brief comment on the car show that was held in Old Shawnee Town, or Shawnee 1929, or however we want to identify it. I got some feedback while I was out and about the last several weeks. Many people really liked that venue, and so I just thought I'd just pass it on.
Yeah, thank you.
It seemed to be very popular, and people hope we do that again next year.
Thank you. Okay, if there's no other items, I will accept a motion to
Motion to
adjourn.
adjourn.
Motion has been made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion passes. We are adjourned.